Where am I? The group that shall not be named. Please tell me that you got the Harry Potter reference when you signed up for that and it wasn't just like a weird, funny thing.
No, we got it.
Okay, cool. Sometimes I feel like a crazy person. So, are there any pitches that you want to start with?
First pitch.
Story pitch 2? 1? Oh, sorry. Learn does terrible things. All right, so do you want to just give us like a quick summary of what this is and like we'll just sort of take it from there?
Yeah, sure. So, like the title says, it's called the bomb defusal. So, throughout all of our pitches, we have this like running gag, like where there's a smart one and there's a stupid one.
Nice.
So each of them. So we have two robots like trying to in a vault, and we see a bomb. They don't know what it is or how to defuse it. So one eventually starts like doing random stuff while the other one's like a bit concerned. Over time, they do more different ideas. Like at one part, she rips off some of the panels for the bomb, and then towards the end, they just give up and start whacking the bomb. The more they whack it, the more the bomb gets closer to being blown up. And towards the end, it explodes and both of them are in pieces.
All right. So it seems like basic idea is like robot sort of discovers a bomb and then they don't realize it's a bomb, so they're just sort of like messing with it.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So also just like check out the robot designs. See, and these are it seems like are using similar robots for all the designs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, does anybody have any thoughts and comments? That's adorable. What if these were razor blades? So does anybody have any thoughts and comments on robot design, ideas, like the story pitch, etc.? All right. I will at some point call on random people if nobody says anything. But I guess so is there any point short of like right when the bomb diffuses when the robots actually realize that like it's a bomb and they might be in danger?
So like the one robot does.
Okay.
Where, he starts like backing away towards the wall of the vault, like this is not a good idea. But the other one's still like, what is this doing?
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Okay. I think it might be good if there was some kind of like interaction between those robots. Maybe like the one tries to, like, the smart one tries to like drag the other one away from the bomb, but he's like drawn back by like a blinking light or something like that. Like, if you get like an interaction between the robots and you make people sort of care about them, I think that would be sort of like get people more into the story, if that makes sense. Someone in my other class was doing sort of a similar thing where they had like a button, one of those like, do not under any circumstances press this button. And one of the robots like wanted to play with it, and then the other one was like trying to drag it away. And like part of the thing that kind of made it cute, I think in that case, was having the one robot try to like haul the other one away, and then they ended up getting into a tussle, and there was talk about like, in that case it was a button, so like the robot that didn't want to push it like tripped and fell on it and blew both of them up. So I think because there's obvious conflict with the bomb. If there was a way to like add some stuff between the characters, I think that would be cool. Anybody else have any thoughts and comments on that, or like ways to like play with the story at all? That's actually a fair point with the cutting wires. It might be kind of annoying. One thing I was actually going to go over in some point in the future is like some light simming in Maya, because I have no idea how to use Houdini. But stuff for like explosion and smoke and things like that. So that'll be like a weird little mini lesson. But yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna call on a random person unless someone has a thought. All right, I called on myself. David? Hello. Do you have any thoughts on the story pitch? Okay. You guys should all be paying attention to each other's pitches. Anyone else?
I think it's good.
Cool. What do you like about it?
I don't know. I feel like they can like show emotion with it, and like kind of play with the bomb. I don't know. It just sounds good. I don't know how to explain it.
Fair. Was that a hand or? Yep.
I'm curious about the dynamic. Which one will be the
Between this one and this one?
The girl is more dumb, but like they're still kind of both not the smartest. Cause she's the one who ends up like actually making it explode, where he has more of the idea as to what's happening. Will they be the same size?
Because right now we had the idea that the girl was going to be the smaller one, the guy was going to be bigger, just based off the builds. But it could definitely like go opposite, where that big one could eventually become a midget, even smaller, but smart. So there's some fun stuff to do with modeling.
I definitely think you could go either way. I think there's some part of me likes the sort of stereotype of like ditzy girl robot, and some other part of me is like, oh, the stereotype of the ditzy girl robot. But yeah, I can see that going either way. I'm also kind of looking at these guys, and they look sort of similar in their joint construction, kind of. And I was almost like, what if they're sort of related somehow? Like, even if that doesn't come across in the story, like just sort of like keep that in mind while you're animating it, kind of thing. Like perhaps they were made by like the same person or whatever. But yeah. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right. Do you have a preference for the next pitch we look at?
Not really. The other two were kind of just like made up on top.
Gotcha. So this is like sort of your main idea.
This
Okay.
is the one like that sat down a little.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I would say, so I think this is like definitely doable. I would just make sure, especially like when you're storyboarding it out, go through and see, because it's a two-person group, so it should be at least 45 seconds of animation. Just like, it's usually a good idea to sort of try to break it up as like, obviously there's some kind of like exposition usually in the beginning, but make sure there's like beats of things happening, if that makes sense. So like, I'm sort of picturing most of this as like the robots like poking at the bomb. If maybe halfway through one of them realizes like, oh crap, bomb, then they have some kind of like interaction with each other away from the bomb, and then they go back to it for like the final like big thing where they actually blow themselves up, if that makes sense. Kind of the same principle as like a fight scene almost. But cool. All right, so let's like just take a look at some of the other ideas just to see what they are. I was intrigued by the title. So you want to give a brief description of this one?
This one was Firefly. Like the title says,
Yeah.
two robots want to try to see if they can fly. They tried different wacky ideas, and then the final idea was, why not try to make a big slingshot and shoot a robot onto the
Oh
sky.
God.
So we got this idea from watching the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
Okay.
So, like most of his plans, it doesn't work at the end. So
Gotcha.
once he does get shot out of the slingshot, he crashes into a wall, burning to pieces.
Gotcha. This also reminds me a little bit of Chicken Run. I think this one could also be like really, really funny. I think if you do decide to pursue this one or like sort of similar ideas, I would look at if they're doing a bunch of stuff to try to fly, and at the end they have the slingshot
Yeah.
where they try and fail again. What makes that different from the previous versions?
This one they actually get up into the air. and actually get
Oh, okay, I see. So it's they think they're gonna fly for like 2 seconds and then they smash into a wall.
yeah.
I see. I interpreted they would all sort of like get into the air and be doing like sort of similar like failing things, but it would just be like running around with like paper wings on, kind of like trying to fly. Is that like
Yeah,
okay?
somewhat.
Gotcha. I think that makes sense. It also might be kind of funny if they like fell apart Like if they hit the wall and then like the chest stays lodged in it and the arms just like fall.
Yeah, that's what we kind of wanted for the
Yeah.
ending. So that one would like jam into the wall, but like the legs would like somehow stay there, or some part of the body would like,
Gotcha.
stay on the wall first.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, I think this would also be workable. I think it might also be good. Kind of like I said with the last one, maybe try to like tie in some different interactions between the characters, or figure out if there's like, I don't want to say figure out if there's like silly robot tropey things that you can do for a montage, but like I feel like that's potentially somewhere where you could add like an extra layer of comedy, is by doing like playing on weird sort of silly robot ideas and like common flying tropes. Anyone else have any thoughts on this one? Can you guys all see the text on the screen? Okay, sweet. Because I cannot read any of that without my glasses, which is why I ask. But yeah. Cool.
You guys are using the same design robot for all three?
Yes.
Is there potentially going to be a problem with trying to hook up the wings to Rogue's robot with the hair and the ears part of like looking?
Her hair moves. So like there's ball joints like at the top.
Okay.
And that's a fair point / question, but like you could totally, one of the attempts might be like other robot grabbing this one and just spinning her really fast to try to make a helicopter out of her.
Yeah.
So like that would be a weird instance of like where the character design could kind of like influence the story and like add another layer of like weird comedy. I'm still also, in my head, these are canonically razor blades. Just giant razor blades. Any other thoughts, comments on that story? All right. Go to the last one, and then that should pretty much finish up this. Cool. And then, you want to do a quick summary of this one?
This one's probably the worst one. Basically, same robots again. They're in a living room about to play chess. One knows how to play chess, one doesn't know how to play chess. And thinks it's checkers. So
Jesus.
over time, the game starts. Robot moves one piece. The other robot moves some random piece that doesn't move in the rules of chess. So he decides to move it, and over time, he somehow plays the game so that he would lose at the end. And he just gets mad, throws the pieces across the room, exits, and that was it.
Gotcha. I would agree that that's probably, the other ideas are stronger.
Yeah, this one is.
Cool. So I feel like probably, I'm not going to spend like a whole lot of time on this, I guess, since it's simply like, sort of like a back burner idea.
Yeah.
I was curious, so I'm always like interested in chess games where like, is it contingent on somebody knowing chess, like to understand it? Where it seems like this one would be, it seems like it would be so erratic in the movements where it would be like really obvious, like what the heck are you doing? But that's always my thing with chess things. Cool. All right, so any other, I guess, thoughts, comments on any of the ideas before we go on to the next team? Alrighty then. Let's see if I can scroll up quickly. No, that's not a thing, sorry. I think you all pretty much have the same grades for everything at this point anyway. The new UI of Learn is very gross. All right, the forest is on fire. I apologize again for these group names.
I appreciated it.
Yeah, I don't know. I realized at some point that you guys were actually gonna have to live with them, and you apparently can't change them. So if you really hate your group name, let me know and I can change it. But anywho, y'all, forest is on fire. You got a pitch preference to start with? What am I saying? Excellent. All right, I shall start the timer. All right, so yeah, just like quick summary of what this one is.
Sure. The deal here of it all is that we have a old mentor creator like robot who's basically confined to his room working on a new contraption bug robot that he's going to be building. And the scene starts with like a pan in of the room in the dark and then the door opening and illuminating, and you just see the shadow of him walking to his desk, and then a back shot of him at his desk working, and Then you see a tiny little head peek around the corner of the open doorway, where he has some mischievousness going on, and he releases his own personal contraption into the room to destroy what the older robot was working on. Of which the older robot gets angry, grabs the contraption, and turns around to see the young robot sprinting away. He then pauses, looks at the robot the young one made, nods approvingly, and puts on a little side table with a bunch of robots that are kind of hidden out of the way, showing, oh, he's been keeping them all. That the
Okay.
younger one's been making. And so it's just a little heartwarming little mentor-apprentice story.
Okay. So the idea is like it's when you originally started pitching it, I was getting the idea that like the younger robot was like sort of maliciously destroying the old one's stuff.
He's pranking the older one, because it's like a young child.
Okay.
That's kind of what he does.
Gotcha. I think you would, if you want to do that and you want the like heartwarming thing to read, you would definitely need to find a way to make it clear that it's like a loving relationship or sort of like weird prank thing. Otherwise, it'll just be like, why is he saving this robot? Like, why is he not angry that younger one destroyed his robot? If that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess apart from that, do we have robot designs? Excellent.
So that's the younger. Or
Cool. I dig the like arm designs.
So also Sarah.
So we have both of our robots that are kind of based off of each other.
Mhm.
Where the younger one is kind of like a newer design.
Right.
Not as built up because he's still learning.
Gotcha.
Whereas-
So the older one is very intricate and has different, slightly older designs.
Okay. That makes sense. So this is, sorry, you said this is the younger one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was like, this looks way fancier.
Yeah. A big way of going about it we wanted to do was having the older robot controlling different robots, each one with their own power source of like, oh, ladybugs have a red power source, butterflies have a blue one, and he has a bunch of different tubes of the different colors. And when he's controlling one, it lights up more.
Gotcha,
And the
gotcha.
younger robot only has like one or two tubes of different colors to show, oh, he doesn't have as much control or hasn't made as much yet.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's a kind of cool premise. Like, especially, I think that would be like a cool visual thing you could do with lighting as well. This is also like terrifying. It kind of reminds me of Ood.
It's all good.
Um,
The bushy, or the like round at the top of the head on the side are gonna try to simulate white grayish hair, like a white hairy bun. So that can't really come across too well with black and white.
gotcha.
That's gonna be like just a white puppy cloud looking design to try to be old cranky mentor.
Why does he have hair? Don't get me wrong. I love the
It's
idea of
gonna
him
be
having
metal,
hair.
It's just like coloring wise, I'm gonna try to make it look close to
I
hair
see.
to try to make it come across more as the old cranky
Gotcha.
mentor.
I thought you meant like legitimate hair, and I'm like, that's disturbing, but like kind of cool. But yeah, all right, cool. So anyone have any thoughts and comments on any of like robot design, pitch in general, etc.? The tubing, I can see the tubing being annoying, but I think you could get away with most of that with like smooth skinning.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to go about
Yeah.
dealing with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll go over that more in a few weeks, but I think I don't think it should be like totally irrational. It looks like most of the tubing is sort of like the torso
Yeah.
and then neck. So yeah, I mean that would just be like a pretty simple smooth skinning job. So
If we wanted to, if you go to the older Metrobot, like having those tubes that like feed from the nose to the back and then down the back
yeah.
and like around the arms and stuff, is there a way of not having to just hand animate out each individual piece but doing like an end cloth effect to just let them hang?
You could use. So for some reason I was actually doing a similar thing with this like terrible robot I started doing, where I'm having like cables attached to its back.
Yeah.
My theory is that you should be able to hook that up with dynamic curves, so it'll sort of like animate itself.
Okay.
But I would say like I'm gonna play with that in the next like week or two. But like if that's integral to the story, maybe like have back burner ideas for that.
It's more I would just have to change how the wiring sits on the guy, because those
Gotcha.
are going to be what like illuminates the control bugs.
Gotcha. But no, I mean I think it's doable. You could also definitely do it with some like extra custom rigs and just like control it manually, and I don't think that would be too terrible if you had to do it like that either.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, dynamic curves would certainly be like the easiest sort of automated way to deal with that. Cool. Needs to be cuter. Cool. All right. So yeah. So any other thoughts, comments on this idea? Yep.
I've been maybe building like a bunch of little robots and animating the wall might get like overwhelming as time goes on.
He has a stash of robots that he's been making since last court.
Random one of like 12 robot bug minions.
Yeah.
too.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise I would definitely say like scope creep. But yeah, he does have a stash of robots. Most definitely a fair point though. I will say like maybe like animating them all might be really annoying unless you've like already set them up to be animated.
I have them rigged up, ready to go.
Well, aren't you fancy? That's like, yeah, cool. All right, any other thoughts and comments, I guess? All right, I'm gonna call in a random person. Gio?
I think that the lighting is actually kind of cool because the fact that it starts in the future, I could feel it into like a book or something to start out with a story.
Yeah, I do like the sort of like setup you did with the lighting in the beginning. I think that's cool. I think that'd also be neat. You can get like a lot of like cool like different types of metal effect in the workshop, which I think would just be like aesthetically really interesting.
Yes, but it will be hell for rendering.
Yes. Always is. Try Redshift. But yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts, comments on this one, or should we move on to another one? All right. Story pitch 2 kind of going in order of preference, I guess?
Sure. The first one was pretty much the one we really wanted to, and then there are two where we kind of
Gotcha.
have to come up with something.
Yeah, there's always some of those. All right, so quickie pitch of these.
Cool. So we have an old evil robot overlord controlling a giant mech bug that's terrorizing the city, and its whole purpose is that we have the one hero robot stop him by like climbing up the bug's leg and then like destroying its like knee mechanism to cause the whole thing to crash.
Gotcha.
And it'll just be like starts with a shot of the street and then the street getting destroyed by like a giant mech leg crashing into it. Pan shoots up, zooms in into the control room where you see the evil overlord controlling stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like a Mantis bug design, which is cool. And then cuts back down to like a side alley where the hero emerges and then beats the bug.
Gotcha. So this is, I take it, Evil Bug.
Yeah.
Evil Bug
the
Bot.
Bug overlord design. I would do glass wings kind of design on the back.
Gotcha. I like the glass wing idea. It's cool. I mean I like the idea of this. It seems incredibly like scope heavy.
Yeah.
Mostly just from destruction of things.
Simulation, yeah, that was
Yeah. But I do like the idea. I mean, I think it'd be cool to like, if you show like the joints in the bug's knee or whatever, you could like rip them out and then, like, yeah, just like having that crash would be pretty satisfying. But it would be a whole endeavor. You could, you could almost change the scale of it if you wanted to, and like, do it so that it's not like you're not like breaking apart whole city streets. It's just like a much smaller sort of like weird, almost like I don't want to say like a child's toy setup, but almost kind of like a child's toy setup where it was like smaller non-breakables. But I feel like that kind of like defeats some of the grandeur of this and like makes your robot designs over elaborate. Who knows? Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Or anything else? Yep.
You could like make them not the size of the buildings, but like the size of the street maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like not as much has to get destroyed, but it's still like a scary robot.
Yeah, it can. No, I like that idea. We could like bust over like lampposts or like
Yeah.
hit cars or something, which is like easily blend shapeable instead of like destroying. Yeah, no, that's a very solid idea. It would also be kind of, well, I was gonna say it'd be hilarious to have pedestrian robots, and I'm like, all the scope creep. But cool. Any other thoughts, suggestions for this one? Yep.
Do you think it'll be difficult to get emotion to read on like a bug sort of themed robot, like the evil overlord guy?
Well, it's supposed to kind of be cold and calculating anyway, as like the Conqueror Overlord insect design, because like insects aren't really all that emotional to begin with. If you haven't noticed, they're kind of mean little
Fair enough, yeah.
bastards in nature. So that one I wasn't too worried about. The hero, on the other hand, might need more emotion, unless we go the Dark Knight route of parents are dead, show no emotion, dark vigilante cringiness, but
I think you could potentially push some emotion in this dude with like lighted eyes. keeping with the bug thing, you could do like sideways eyelids, but he's not a bug. But I do think you would need, if you went with this idea, to definitely like make this guy like give him a reason that he cares that things are being destroyed. Like maybe it's like his apartment or something, or like his car, like he's going to like unlock his door of his car or his house or whatever, and then it gets like stepped on, and he's like, all right, it's about to go down. But yeah, I mean, I feel like for this idea to work, you'd also have to like care about like why things are happening, because for all I know, you'd be rooting for the bug, which is probably what I do because it's a cool looking little bug. But yeah, cool. All right, and looking at the third idea real quick. What?
So we've got the old robot again and a young robot, and the old robot is trying to do some repairs on, I think, itself. And it's trying to like pick itself up and work around, and then it kind of fails, and the kid robot walks in the room and is just like, oh no, gotta help the old man. And so he's just helping him out and trying to assist him.
Gotcha. I feel like it would be really, and again, complete scope creep. It would be really funny. You said young robot comes in and takes care of him with little bug helpers. You just have this like, you could do like a weird split perception thing, I guess, where like the old robot falls and like mess with the lighting so it looks kind of ominous, and then like the door opens kind of like your first one, and there's like this ominous figure, and then there's like all of these bug robots that just like swarm the floor and like cover the old one, but then they're actually being helpful and they like pick him up and like throw him into bed. Again, totally would be terrible to animate because of the giant bug swarm, but like
100%, yes. But
he's like, I would lose sleep for that. But no, I mean, I do also kind of like the idea of that. I think that would be another one where it's like, why do the robots care about each other? Like, figure out some kind of relationship and like how they usually interact with each other, and make that clear. This looks like a pumpkin face.
it's torn metal.
It looks like a pumpkin face.
It's torn metal.
I'd buy the pumpkin just the way you laid it out. It looks like a pumpkin. Or a like burlap sack shirt. But I do like the silhouette of this guy. I think like the sort of like slouchy forwardness is cool. And you could even play, like, because of the robot design, like he'd be really top heavy, so he would probably have like a really weird, interesting walk to him as he's falling. This little booger. And I'm just canoning this one as Harry Potter robot. But yeah, I mean, I think like both of these guys would work. So you were saying, did you think about, like, maybe it's like a grandson robot or anything like that, or like just sort of like is young robot?
I was
Okay.
thinking grandson, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, if that's the case, it might be cool. Like, you had your first idea where they had like the sort of like newer model thing. It might be kind of interesting to like incorporate those designs somehow, or like even with texturing, like on them, have like the grandfather one be like Mark 1 and be all scratched up, and the other one's like Mark 3 or something. Which also I guess applies to your other designs as well. But cool. Anyone have thoughts, comments on this one? Yep.
I guess another way you could show their like family relationship, you could have like a picture on the wall or something maybe in the background.
It's true. I forget pictures exist. Yeah. Cool. Did I see another hands anywhere? All right. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a fair point. For some reason, I always forget that like pictures exist, but like that totally is a great way to like cheat some exposition in there.
You can also do that with the master and apprentice one.
It is true. And I think the actually like tacking like labels on them, it might kind of like go against the aesthetic that you have, but like that certainly would potentially get across the idea that like they were somehow related. Cool. Any other thoughts, comments on any of these? All right. Let me go to, oh my God. This is the worst. All right. With yodeling yaks. Do you have a preference on where to start?
I guess we can start with the first one.
Cool.
So the first one, similar to the dynamic that you guys mentioned over there, we have a sort of tall, smart robot and a short, dumb one as like the goofy sidekick, and they're working together to get a power source in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. The idea is sort of that they happen upon this power source perched on a piece of rubble or something slightly out of reach. And they go through various attempts to try to get it down, but they can't. They try to climb, they fall, they stack boxes into this precarious tower, and it falls apart. They try to slingshot the little one up, but they fall short. And in the end, they're kind of hopeless and they don't really know what they're going to do. And then the little one realizes a blinking light on his arm, presses it, and a grappling hook shoots out. And he goes up and he grabs the power source easily. It's sort of, the idea is to play off that dynamic of this extremely capable, but goofy small robot and this serious but unable to sort of supply the ability tall robot.
Gotcha. I kind of like that idea. All right, so let's look at your robot designs really quick. All right, so we have short, derpy, and capable, and then tall, not derpy, and incompetent.
Yes.
I like these robot designs. It does feel like a silly, like you look at this and you're like, that's totally not gonna be a useful, functional thing. Cool. All right, so anyone have any thoughts and comments on this? Anybody? Cool. All right, well, I'm gonna say I think it would be cool. I like the sort of dynamic of this. One thing I think might be kind of interesting is like use the robots use your perception of them based on their design and their physical characteristics, mostly size, to sort of determine like how the story goes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I mean, you could even get like really tropey and like have the big one like jump up and try to grab a branch to climb the tree, but he like falls because he's heavy and he just like breaks a branch off.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that would require breaking stuff, but and then you could maybe, if there was like some kind of weird dynamic where the big one was like, this little one's just like stupid and useless and like and he's just sort of like directing him around to do things, and then when he gives up, the other one kind of like comes in and he's like, I can do the thing, grab. That might be kind of like a satisfying ending in the sense that the little one's like, I did the thing.
Yeah, I definitely think that's sort of the intent, especially with like, the slingshot.
Yeah,
The little guy in the slingshot, and then he's sort of not on board with like grabbing the ledge or what have you.
Gotcha. Or the guy just has terrible aim.
Yeah.
He accidentally shoots him into a wall or something.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of room to like give character to both of them in sort of the trials that they go through to try to
Yeah.
get the thing.
My other question is, does Minibot know that he has a grappling hook?
It depends how dumb you want him to seem. I don't think that there really was a decision on
Yeah.
it yet. I mean, it's a very rough outline, but
No, that's fair.
I think the initial intent was no.
Okay.
And
So
he
he's
sort
just
of accidentally hits it and then just, oh yeah. I could've done
Okay.
that. But maybe he's just not on board with the plan the entire time.
yeah, or he's just being salty because the other one's being like a bossy jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like definitely, if you want to do this one, a question that you guys should like answer, because it might inform your story. Because I think when I first heard the pitch, I was like, was he just like yanking the other one's chain? Like, did he just know he had this the whole time? And like, why did he not use it before? But you could also totally go with the idea of like, he's really dumb and he's like, ooh, look at this beeping thing on my arm. And he like pokes it and it's just like grappling hooks the thing.
Yeah, I think that was definitely closer to the initial intent.
Yeah.
Sort of can go either direction.
Mm-hmm. And then does the big one, and then how do these two robots know each other? Because if the big one, like, did they just meet on the street? Because I feel like if the big one knew that the little one had a grappling hook, he would just be like, I'm gonna pick you up and grappling hook this.
I think they probably don't know too much about each other.
Okay.
Considering it's sort of like post-apocalypse, and they're definitely not the same build.
Right.
version. One looks like a
Right.
weird 70s television, the other one is like an actually put together robot.
Gotcha.
I think that has to get decided, as we do more of the designs and
Yeah.
figure out, what they're gonna really look like.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's like another thing where like for this one, I mean, maybe like if they don't know each other, like have them just do like a brief thing of like having them meet or something. Like they're both sort of
Okay.
like walking towards the only tree in the desert kind of thing from like different things, and they get there and they're like, oh, a person, and then they decide to like work together kind of thing. Could be a way to approach that. Does anyone else have any thoughts? Yep.
I really like the idea of it, like when the other robot tries to send shot to the power source, it'd be funny if like he gets the slingshot reels in really fast, he would just slam into the wall and just get like he hit like a bunch of rocks going up to the thing while getting to it. I think there's a lot of room to make him look like extremely stupid.
Yeah.
That'd be like a fun thing to animate.
For sure.
Indeed. Anyone else have any thoughts? All right. Any preference for the other ideas?
Maybe the third one, since like
This one?
yes.
Okay.
So it's a similar thing, but for this one, they were like going through the rubble, and then they saw like this battery juice thing, and then they like, oh my god, we're gonna one of them, and not one of them, both of them try to reach like the bottle first, so that they can have the battery. But like, it'll be a sad story at the end, like they spill all of it, and then their friend's gonna die, they're gonna die. And then, but they decided not to take the battery
Okay.
and spill the rest of it, and then the battery will like shock both of them and then give them full health.
Okay.
Gonna be like a happy story, I don't know.
Gotcha. So they kind of like find a thing and find a way to like game the system so they both win. Okay. But it looks like before they realize that, they sort of are like actually fighting over it as if one of them is going to die.
Can you say that again?
So like as what am I saying? Before they realize that they can just sort of like shock both of themselves.
They
It
realize that they can shovel it, it's an accident that they spill it, and then they realize that
gotcha.
both of them gain power.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I think that makes sense. It seems like kind of a similar premise to the other one. I think if are there sketches for this? Oh my god, they're so weird. Oh, I love the similarities between these designs. This is terrifying.
That's adorable.
That is genuinely terrifying.
That's horrible. It's kind of hot. Thank you.
Cool. Scroll back up now. So I think apart, like there are similar designs. So like, is there a way that you could sort of establish that they were friends?
In the beginning, they can like help each other to like carry stuff, and then like cooperating.
Okay.
They saw like the bottle.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Or maybe yeah, like do like a montage of them like traveling together, and then like one gets tired, kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, that works. Cool. Anyone have any thoughts on this one? Do I need to call on a random person? Call it on a random person. Sammy. Sammy? Okay. Y'all should totally be looking at the pitches. I'm gonna call on someone else.
Quick question. I'll
Yeah.
volunteer. So is this pitch gonna be in pretty much the same like scenario as the first one, like kind of post-apocalyptic?
Like same setting.
Yeah.
Cool. I am probably also going to do, because there's a lot of people that want to do like post-apocalyptic, I was thinking of looking into like convenient ways to make texture and populate trash piles. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I would say like, if there's a way to like consolidate the environment so it's not like this big sprawling thing, that would totally make life easier for everyone in general, but especially post-apocalyptic stuff. But yeah. So what happens? What happens to the battery at the end? Which is like a random question, but like they're now fully charged. So does that mean the battery's dead?
Fully charged? Like the battery bottles or their battery?
So like their batteries are charged, but like the battery that shocked them, what happens to that? Fair enough. It's not like a huge important plot thing. I was just sort of curious, because you could potentially, if it was totally dead, then they just sort of like go on their way. If it maybe had a little bit of juice, maybe they would consider like fighting over it again, or like take it with them kind of thing, or like maybe they would just like put it on their bag and like carry it with them as they continued their travels. But it might just be something to think about as like a sort of like ending, like little ending scene. Cool. All right, any other thoughts, comments on this one? All right, so is this the one we didn't look at? Okay, thank you. Amazon Prime. All right, what is the story behind this?
Similar setting, apocalyptic world, an abandoned robot, walking around, very sad, and then he tripped on something, Amazon Prime box. He brushed off the box, opened it, and noticed it's a toy robot, a really cute one, and then he put them together, but he was like not hopeful at that point. He put them together, pressed the start button, and wait, and right when he was about to like give up and walk away, the toy robot like lights up,
Mhm.
hi, something like that. Yeah, I'm getting from friends.
Gotcha. So the little robot is like actually a sentient, like alive little robot. Like it's not just a toy, or is it just a toy?
Maybe like halfway toy and like maybe a little bit smarter.
Okay. Or like maybe it's like one of those weird, what if what if it's one of those like robot dogs? I can't even remember what they're called to Google it. But they had these like, I think they were like I don't know. But these like really ridiculous, simple, like, what is it?
Aibo. AIBO.
But if it was like a silly like robot dog, yes. This is like very much like would fulfill, well, minus the humanoid part, but if it was like something like this, it would fulfill the requirements of the assignment and kind of be obviously like not a high-tech thing, especially if it like came in a toy box. I think that would help sell the idea. I kind of like that, it's cute. And this is adorable. And this is, he's like, my younger brother. I do like that they both only have one eyeball. Plot twist, this is actually just a security camera. Because it totally looks like a security camera.
I googled a picture of a security camera and added legs.
That would do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone have any thoughts and comments on this idea?
What if you wake up and just see that at the end of your day? What would you do?
Go
Be
back to sleep.
terrified.
Just give up at that point.
Cool. Yeah.
I like the idea, but I feel like there would be a lot more animation involved with the tall robot rather than the toy one.
Mm.
Since the toy robot's part seems to be kind of small.
Gotcha.
So I don't know how they would balance that.
Gotcha. Well, I was actually going to say, I don't think I mentioned this explicitly. It came up in my last class as well, but don't feel like when you guys are dividing up animation work that you guys each have to only animate your own robots. I mean, as long as there's like functional rigs and stuff, like one person can animate the other person's robot. If there's a scene with two robots in it, like one person can just animate both of them. So is that sort of what you were saying? Okay, yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would kind of look at maybe, I kind of like the idea of like this little dude having like jiggly silly arms. That could be his appeal. His arms just flop around. But yeah. I really like the similarities between these in design. That's like adorable. Any other thoughts and comments? Cool. All right. I don't know why. I really like this idea, and I honestly don't know why. I think honestly just like the robot designs kind of speak to me. And I find them very, very charming. But I think any of these would be totally fine to do. Maybe just like, again, think of like some of those like extra like little questions about like how the robots like relate to each other. For the first one, like answer some of those questions about like the grappling hook and stuff.
Yeah.
But cool. Any last thoughts, comments? All right. Moving on. I need to, it's too many. Consortium of Sleepy People. Do you have a preference of which pitch to start with?
Number one.
Okay, excellent. Carry on.
So basically what this story is a teenage robot is a really big fan of this K-pop group called Red Velvet, and she opens up her computer and tries to learn one of the dances, and it's linked right here. And it's like a really cringy, upbeat song with them trying to be as cute as humanly possible.
I'm gonna.
She turns on the video and it's like really, really
I'm muting this.
loud in the house. You'll see how cringy it is when it actually starts.
Oh, I've seen K-pop videos. I am aware.
I think you can skip the end.
Yes. Yep. This is exactly what I pictured.
So she's gonna try to learn this dance, and so she's like kind of experienced, so she's like getting it, but not really. But in the meantime, the mom is sitting downstairs, and she's like trying to go about her day, but she can only hear this really loud and obnoxious song. So she just like gradually gets angrier and angrier. It just skips from the teenage girl to the mom, and then the mom like is finally like really angry. She goes up, and the whole time like she has like a pretty like calm demeanor.
Yeah.
But then as soon as she gets to the door, she just kicks it down, crushes her daughter, goes in, takes the computer, throws it out the window, and then the ending shot is just the daughter running after the computer and actually jumping out the window and just falling. But it's fine since it's like a townhouse, so it's like on the second floor, and since she's a robot, she won't die.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Oh,
I have questions.
so that's a teenage robot.
I mean, that I got. I definitely get the, like, what these are supposed to be from the design. My question comes, define crushes the daughter.
Not completely crushes, just enough to knock her down and then not be able to move at first.
Okay. I was thinking maybe, like, you could...
Not like literally like the pancake daughter.
I interpreted that as, like, smashes her with a bookshelf.
Like, since she's a robot, she can handle a few hits, including jumping out a window.
So this apparently means that beating up your child is acceptable. I know. So what you might be able to do to make it feel like a little bit more in character, is because you were saying like she seems pretty calm most of the time, but like vaguely annoyed, and then she just like suddenly like kicks the door open and like smashes her daughter. She could. What if she like opened the door or like opened it aggressively? Like she had to maybe like jiggle the lock, or it's like locked, and then she like jiggles it and she's like nope, and then she just like really like aggressively like pushes it in, but maybe not going so far as to like kick it down. And then she just like, her daughter is like wah and tries to like protect the computer, and the mom just like pushes her out of the way, somewhere like out of the way. I'm not like, I kind of like the idea where the mom just like loses her mind, but that might be a way to like tone it down and still get the same idea across. I feel like, and I'm curious to get everyone else's opinion on this, I feel like the robot daughter, you were talking about ending it just on her jumping out the window. Okay. Part of me is like, that's really satisfying, and the other part of me is like, I want to like see what happens to her. You know what I mean? Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? Like, I feel like, yeah.
I feel like it's also would be funny if she like continued dancing but like
You ever see the short video of like Big Bird who used knocks on the door? And they know all of it. I just imagined that going with the robots.
That's what we had in mind. Literally exactly that.
That's funny. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, but it's cool when you do something that's like that recognizable. The other thing that occurred to me, if you wanted to sort of like shake up the ending and like change it entirely, is like what if like these are robots? Could they download music into their body? Like what if? Well, well, yes, no, but like what if she throws the laptop out the window, and then the daughter just is like looking at her, and she just like gives some kind of like robot smile equivalent, and then starts like playing the music like out of her mouth speakers or something, and like keeps dancing. And then the mom just chucks her out the window. But I mean, you could like play on that idea of like, technically these robots are also like technologies and computers. But I do like the idea. I think it's like I think part of the thing that makes it funny is you're using K-pop. Which is just like delightful. But yeah. The other thing maybe is like I have no idea where the volume controls on this computer are. I know if I turn this on, it's gonna like explode really loud. And everyone is gonna be like, why are they playing K-pop in 248? But I was gonna say, if there's any like strong beat in that music, maybe you could do with like the sort of stereotypical thing with like loudspeakers where it's like booming on the ceiling and like shaking a lamp kind of thing.
That's what we had in mind, because at some point there's a shot of her drinking her cup of motor oil, and it just like falls over because the beat is so strong.
Gotcha. Got it. But no, I think this is a cute idea and like definitely workable. Any other thoughts, comments on this one? Yeah.
What if the mom just actually does destroy the daughter? She just like smashes it into a million pieces. Then she just like opens a closet and like unboxes another daughter or something.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oil or something to this blood or something?
Wait, say that again?
Can you use like oil or something to this blood or something?
You could totally do that. I mean, that would get into more like fluid sims than people probably want to deal with, but I mean, that's totally doable. I like the idea of just like turning this really dark and she just has a closet of daughters. that's really messed up. Cool. Any other thoughts and comments on this one? All right. Pitch 2? Cool.
So if you didn't think that one was dark enough, basically this one is about this one simple worker robot. His name's Bob. And every day he wakes up, goes to work, gets screwed up by his boss, and then goes back home. And it's a constant process, like over a couple of days. And he has a roommate named Chad, and Chad just witnesses all this every day. And he's kind of concerned, but not enough to do anything about it. Until one day he sees Bob walk out with none of his stuff, like no suitcase, none of it. And then he happens to look out the window and he sees Bob falling, and that's it.
I love it.
Okay. So this is pretty much a story of like robot suicide?
Robicide.
There are post-credits.
Cool. I have here's my main thought and concern is like, personally I have no issue with this. I have no idea how other people would react to this. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know. Maybe someone who like knows somebody who this has like been an issue for or something where it'd like be a problem. But that's really my only like thought and concern. But yeah.
I mean, a cool way, instead of him jumping out the window, like him going to like recycle himself or something.
That's kind of funny. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that spin where he's like recycling himself or something. Yeah.
Yeah, or like Bender in Futurama Suicide Boots. Where he,
Oh God, yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to mind of like a way a robot could, think about that sort of utilitarian.
Gotcha. I was also thinking, so like what if he did go to like recycle himself, or like what if whatever he did at the end was like somehow related to his job in some way? Like if he worked at a recycling plant, he's like, I'm dedicating myself to my work, like let me recycle myself or something. I mean, that's a I'll give you a raise if you mulch yourself.
Raise in mulch.
I like him.
This is super creepy.
The boss.
So is this
Chad.
I did notice there are 3 robots in this. It's
Yeah,
and
because I assumed since there would be, like, Chad and Dave don't move the most, I figured I should make 2 to take place of one that moved the most.
okay. I mean, then you would still have to model and rig another robot. Like I said, I'm not going to stop anyone if they want to do that, but like, it's more front end work for like the modeling. So I might say if you do want to do that, focus on ways to like add that in the story, but that could also be removed if you find you don't have time to make that third robot. And like I said, I mean, you can swap sort of robots, so you each would have like some walking and animating and stuff like that to do. I think actually, if you're looking at like animation concerns, I think the fact that a lot of this is sort of like repetitive motion, at some point you need to find a way to like vary the walk cycle, in some way where you couldn't just like use the same walk cycle for like the whole animation. But cool. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments on this one? Cool.
I think it's more entertaining if he just like straight up just walks up off the window and then just drops and the guy runs to check over the edge, and then the dude's still just walking along the street like, hold up, wait, what? To the
That's kind of
recycling
funny.
plant. No, to the recycling plant. So it's a false alarm to real alarm to oh no.
Gotcha. That's kind of funny.
If he landed inside a recycling truck,
Yeah.
like he aimed for it.
Nice.
Into the recycling.
I feel like there's like a bunch of like tropes that I think would work well with that. I was also thinking like, what if something is like wrong with him somehow? Like, what if, I don't know, he gets like rained on or something weird, and he like his like wiring gets messed up, so then he's just like basically like malfunctions himself to death or something weird. Cool. All right. Other thoughts, comments on this one?
It might make modeling like an animated Dave easier, like instead of making a whole robot with a giant head or something that comes into the wall. It has like move his jaw or whatever. So you can,
Like kind of robot from was it Wally, the evil chip boy.
yeah, or like glass or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I was also thinking it might be kind of funny if you did like the weird like video game walking into a wall thing. If you've seen Wreck-It Ralph, where like the one guy is just walking into the wall and not going anywhere. That could also be a way to like show the robot's damaged and also kind of tie into the like he's just walking. Like oh my god, no, what if he's doing that and he just like hits the wall, and then the other robot who's like sitting on the couch is like, what are you doing? And he just like pushes him gently, and he like walks out the door and then like keeps going. And the other guy's like, oh crap.
He doesn't want to kill himself. He can't help it. Like, it's just
Yeah, he just like stuck in the wall.
Yeah.
really dark. I like it.
I actually think that this idea with like maybe a little bit more of like figuring out why things are happening and like exactly what you want that end goal to be, if it's like recycling or like he's broken and about to walk off a cliff, like I think this could actually be a really funny idea. Funny is perhaps the wrong word here, but like it could be, it has potential.
Perfect.
I really like the one suicide. Can't help it.
All right, so real quick, do you want to go through the third pitch idea?
Okay, so the third pitch is just like an post-apocalyptic world. There's one robot who's considered like a good robot. He scavenges old homes to find parts for himself. So like he's trying to find a memory chip because he's running out of memory, and it is like designed as like an open thing with like an empty chip reader. So that's what he's trying to find. So he sees like actually a pile of robots on his side, but he's actually too good to actually scavenge these robots and then disturb their peace. So he walks into a room and sees a memory chip in the middle, and as he literally like runs to it because he's like a starved robot,
Right.
essentially. And as he grabs the chip, he looks up and there's like an evil scavenger robot who is like made specifically to destroy other robots. And he tries to get in a fighting stance, but since he doesn't have memory, he just starts like not working anymore.
Gotcha.
And as each of his like limbs stop working, the other robot is like kind of tearing him off.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, this one's a dark story too. And the ending is basically the robot limbless, and we're actually zooming into the microchip, but the shadow of the other robot actually destroying the good robot is overlooking that microchip.
Wow.
It's kind of like reflecting on his actions because that microchip cost him his life.
Interesting. They'll have some like weird dark ideas. I like it. So with I think it would actually be funny if like maybe he like buried the other robots or something.
On his way.
Yeah, like on his way, because I think you would need a way to show that like he's not just ignoring them. He's not taking it because he respects like what the old robots used to be. And then is the microchip in the center of the room like a legit trap by this other?
Yeah, it's literally a trap. So
Okay.
There's only a light to the microchip, but then he looks up and the other robot like turns on his eyes and they're red.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, I'm about to die.
Gotcha. For some reason I was imagining like a cave falling on him, a cage. I was gonna say cage. And like trapping him in like a really generic thing. But no, I mean I think this one would also work. And the ending is literally just like robot was trying to save his life and dies.
Yeah.
What if you wanted to make it more dark, what if to be like super sadistic, the scavenger or like evil robot like puts the memory chip in the guy and then continues destroying him while he's awake? All right.
Serial killer robot.
He's designed to destroy other robots. But yeah, no, that's probably a bad suggestion. But you can do it if you want. All right, anyone have any thoughts, comments on this one? Anybody? All right. So it seems like this was sort of like the third favorite idea, so probably won't spend, so probably won't spend like a whole lot of time on this. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, I think like pretty much any of these would work. What? Yeah, I mean, that's, again, thematically, I would probably just avoid, like, robots willfully killing themselves, just because I feel like that could be upsetting to people. But I definitely think that, like, any or all of those ideas definitely have potential.
This one's more afterthought. The main ones are on the first submission. This is kind of like.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Erg. Okay. Preference on pitch to start with?
No.
Cool. Let's start on pitch 3.
That's probably the best one anyway.
I got you.
Yeah, so basically this is, the idea here is that this starts with both the two robots being unified. They're both like repair bots, but they both have two different jobs. One's like an instructor, one's like the repair bot, like the one actually like doing repairs. So the scene starts with both of them being notified that there needs to be wiring that needs to be to, so they both arrive at the place and they need to underneath and while one bot extends its legs like up to like where the wiring is like on the wall, the other one like retracts all its legs and rolls into the wall to and gets to the place where it needs to be. So the bot on the outside then begins giving instructions on everything, and the bot on the outside then suddenly it's like all of them are really bad. They're kind of a little bit rushed.
So, I mean, strictly speaking, this is kind of all I was looking for, honestly.
Okay.
Do carry on.
Then all of a sudden the bot on the outside suddenly stops giving instructions, and the one on the inside is kind of just like, all right, well, what now? So he just kind of finishes it without any instructions or tries his best.
Oh, God.
And when he gets on the outside, he realizes, bot on the outside had fallen down and just shut down all of a sudden. And then when he finally boots back up, he asks the other bot if he had finished. He said, yeah, I did finish it. And then the station blacks out.
Okay, so they're both like basically like different size functionality robots trying to repair this thing.
Yeah.
Presumably the larger one has the instructions, but that one ends up shutting down for some unknown reason. Little one wings the design and then basically screws it up badly. Okay. I kind of like that. Did you give any thought to like why the other one powered down? Like I feel like even if
He fell down and he like busted pretty much.
Oh, okay. Why did he fall down?
Didn't think about that much.
So I was thinking like even like that might be a cool thing to think about, like even if you don't visibly show like him falling down or like why he shuts off, it might be a cool thing to think about. Like I was thinking, like if they're doing wiring in the wall, what if the little one like accidentally rips his finger off or something and like shorts him out by like doing something stupid, or like something similar to that, where it's like, again, even if you don't show it, like it might be good to know why he falls over. But yeah, I mean, I do like the idea. I like that the little one just kind of like goes at it regardless. Did you also give any thought to like how would you show that one robot sort of knows what it's doing and like the little one doesn't?
Yeah, so that's the one that's one of the concerns, I think. So like I had a bunch of different thoughts on this, like the camera would like pan between them, and like the on one side, like on the bottom and outside, the bot would be like looking at like a kind of like a hologram thing, like a little notepad thing, and like his mouth would be like blinking and making noises.
Okay.
And then it would go back to the bottom and inside, and we would start doing whatever the bot's telling him to do.
Okay.
Something like that.
Another thing you might look at is like, is there some, I'm thinking like maybe they're somehow connected by like Bluetooth, or like you could go really obvious and do some kind of weird robot equivalent of like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Where like the big one is sort of like bleeping to the little one, or like what, I mean, almost what would even happen if like the little one also had like a remote camera in it, so the big one was sort of like using that one to get to areas inside the wall that it like couldn't get to. And then you could even use that, because if the small robot somehow like damaged the little communicator thing, maybe that like shorts out the big robot and like zaps him in the head, and that's why he falls over. So I think looking like stuff like that and seeing if you could like maybe answer some of the questions, it might lead to answers to the other ones and like make a more cohesive story. But I do sort of like the power outage idea. Does anyone else have any thoughts and comments on this, or like ideas of how to like visually tell that like these robots are communicating, anything like that? Do I gotta pick a person? Yes, thank you.
Maybe flashlights like Morse code or something?
You could make it legitimate Morse code. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like also like definitely would sort of like help communicate. Any other thoughts? Cool. And then is there, I think this is like the only robot sketch I see for this one?
So we have a little bit of communication issues, so I couldn't get sketches from him,
Gotcha.
but I have my own sketch.
Okay, is that what the second submission was?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, no worries. I'll take a look at those, I guess, later, because it's kind of a pain to get back and forth. Cool. All right. So yeah, I mean, I think like this definitely has potential. Maybe just needs like a little bit more planning to make that work. You would also conceivably need to think about like your set design if you're inside a wall. It's gonna be kind of annoying to move a camera around in there, so you might just like, it's definitely doable. You might just need to think about like how you want to set it up if you want to like make little tracks or whatever for your camera to sort of like follow along. And how you would frame that so it doesn't end up looking like really, really squashed. But yeah. Preference for pitch 2 or pitch 1? 2 it is.
Okay, so basically both of these robots are like trash compactor robots, and they actually get energy from eating trash and like leftover food and stuff like that. Pretty much anything that's just like thrown away. So you know, both of them trying to look for food, and as they're walking around, they actually find a restaurant specifically made for them that pretty much collects trash and then puts it in the restaurant and then serves it to them. So when they both walk in, they order. Oh, big thing. One of the robots eats tomatoes. That's the only.
He hates tomato. Okay.
The only thing he won't eat. He'll throw up anything he'll throw up anything that he has in his like stomach if he consumes tomato. So they both walk in and order the food they want. The robot orders half of a cheeseburger with an oil half of an oil canister, and after immediately sitting down, he chucks the entire tray into like his. If you look at the robot, he has like a little door flap on his stomach. So he pretty much chucks the entire tray of food into like that little area,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately after doing that, he realizes that there's a tomato on the cheeseburger, and the flap like bursts open, and like the trash is all over
Ew.
all the robots.
Gross. All right, cool. So anyone have any thoughts and comments on this one? I will agree that like having modeled trash before, I will tell you that it is a pain. Also, tomato intolerant robot is really unfortunate because that's a whole lot of pizza boxes he doesn't get to eat. But yeah, so I mean, I also like the idea of this one. Did you give any thought to like how you would communicate that he like can't eat tomato stuff?
That's throwing up.
Right, but
Not really, other than that.
okay. I meant like more like how would you show that? Like would the other one maybe like offer him a box of something with like an obvious tomato and he would be like, blah,
Yeah.
and then like kind of like throw it away first or something?
I have a couple ideas of that.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that would need to be like clearly established, and then maybe at the end, like it would need to also be obvious that there was a tomato on the cheeseburger,
Yeah.
which is, who puts
I think
tomatoes on a
that was
cheeseburger?
gonna be the last thing that lands on top of the pile.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking, or like the tomato like hits the other robot in the face and like slowly slides down it. But yeah, so I mean, I think it just like needs to be really, really obvious in this one that like the tomato is the sort of main foe, I guess, which is weird. Not a thing I thought I'd say. Fun fact, there's a whole movie about giant killer tomatoes. That is a thing, but
I mean, it could be like pizza, I guess, instead of a.
yeah. So what is I guess the purpose of the other robot in this one?
Being the guy that gets trash put on him, I guess.
Gotcha.
Being the friend, I guess.
You-
Like
that's
a
more.
chef. It would be like a chef robot. Like, he makes, like he tells him no tomato, and then like he actually puts tomato in it anyway. And that's why he's throwing up.
Yeah. No, I like that idea. I feel like for this one, it's like this will make I think a really successful like single robot thing. I feel like if you want to go with this one, you would need to figure out a way to like tie the two together or like somehow make the second robot more important. I also thought it would be kind of funny at the end. And again, you're welcome to animate the same robot, like that's fine, but ideally they would interact a little bit more. But it might be kind of funny if the robot gets tomato stuff puked all over him and then he's like, I can eat that. I don't mind tomatoes, and he like scoops it up and eats it. Which might be kind of like a satisfying gross factor at the end. But yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts and comments with this one? All right. Pitch 1.
This is like almost like it's not necessarily finished. It's
Okay.
a little open-ended, but I mean the idea is there. It's pretty much like these two robots that were built to kill humans, but their biggest flaw is that they need charge, and the only people that have charge ports are humans. So they kind of have to figure that situation out.
Gotcha.
So he starts with Rosie wandering around like the desert, looking for nearby human settlements.
Yeah.
So their search doesn't last long, because they find one, but just as fast as they find one, they also realize that their batteries are really low. Like their meter on their battery reader is like really low. It's like starts blinking and everything. So they decide to try and sneak into the camp and charge their batteries before they attack. That's not where humans where humans they also destroy the charge port.
Right.
So but that's kind of pretty much where it ends.
Gotcha.
But there's more to it, honestly.
Fair enough. I think it definitely has an interesting potential. My immediate question is, who the heck designed these robots? Like, presumably humans. Why would they make human hunting robots?
Someone who's not working that much.
Like the Matrix.
It's been a long time since I've seen Matrix. I mean, I was almost thinking, like, what if they were sort of like assassin bots? Almost. So it's not like, maybe you could kind of spin it so they weren't just like ravenous, bloodthirsty robots that would kill any human. They were trying to kill like certain ones. But people were suspicious because they knew that they're like assassin bots kind of thing. But I think again, it definitely has potential. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this one? Shush. This is the dorkiest assassin robot I've ever seen. So now I'm curious because of this robot design, like, what makes this an efficient human hunting robot?
That's why he's so good, because they don't expect it.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Shoot like a laser out of the top of the antenna.
Amazing. But,
He doesn't actually have to move a lot. Just stand still and just kills.
okay. I interpreted out of the top of his antenna as like straight up in the air, but I'm like, it could just be like a little lighthouse thing. Because I was like, how does he bend forward to like get there? I do think it would be kind of funny if he was just like this really completely ridiculous looking like robot with just a really OP laser.
Wait, are you also going to be making humans?
Yes, that's actually one of the concerns. Is like I would either want to actually model like a human or really play with the camera well enough to like make it seem like the robot's trying to do something, but you never actually have to see the something.
What if they like, I don't know, like it was nighttime and they tried to break into like a family's house while they're sleeping? So you're not making people, they're just like in bed and they're trying to get into their outlets.
Yeah. Or you could even do a thing where like you just make a sort of like generic blob that looks like hair and kind of like cover it with a blanket. So it looks like someone's like sleeping in the bed and you get the idea like, okay, this is like not a robot. But that is definitely a fair point. You could also maybe do some like, not even like people, but just like really like hardcore like silhouettes far off in the background that are like humans. But I feel like no, because at that point it could just be other
I
robots.
think actually the nighttime thing kind of works because if
Yeah.
I can have like lights on in buildings and like silhouettes like
Mhm.
by like lights
Yeah.
lights on the windows.
Yeah, I think that's probably like the most solid idea that comes to my head is the sort of like nighttime sleeping family. And you can also, again, pictures are great for exposition. But yeah, I think this one, cool idea, it just needs like a lot of establishing stuff, but like definitely could be interesting. Anyone else have any thoughts, comments on this one? Alrighty then, or any of the other ones. Alrighty then again. Which group are you guys are cat slaps? Let's go to Lumpy Lemons. So Lumpy Lemons, do you have a preference on which pitch to start?
You could just do 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Cool.
Alright, so in the first pitch, there's a fancy robot that's stranded in a desert and he's low on battery and he stumbles upon this old hillbilly robot at a gas station and he tries to
Oh.
yeah, that was just a link to the original
Okay.
and the other robot, the hillbilly robot, has no clue how to charge him since he's newer and he just gives him like these random things that just make him like sick and stuff. Like he like brings out like the gas pump and just vomits it up.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then the old robot pulls some batteries out of a drawer.
Okay.
He's like, alright, stick these up your rear. And the guy's like, no. And then he
But he tries it like hurts.
No.
Huh? He tries it.
Oh, it hurts and
He sticks like 9 up.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
But then right when then the fancy robot's getting angry and he's about to leave, but then he notices just like a water bottle sitting on his shelf. And that's what he needs to charge, so he just drinks some water.
Okay.
And then he's like, alright, we're good. And then the old robot, still clueless, just kind of
really proud of
shakes his
himself.
hand and they leave.
Gotcha. I never thought that robot suppositories was going to be a thing that was discussed in class, but here we are. So thank you for that. I was just like, plot twist, the hillbilly robot is actually a cunning world-class drug smuggler trying to use the other one as a mule. But I think you could definitely do some really weird, interesting stuff with this where like maybe I'm sort of envisioning like new robot is like running on new technology, I guess, that like the old one doesn't recognize. I'm curious to see how the hydro, like I want to know like why the hydropower works, but maybe he's like a steam engine or something,
Yeah.
where he just like needs, he like puts the water in and he has like a little furnace in him and it just like, that actually could be interesting. If he was like a little steam thing, like when he put a battery in, it would probably like, do a little like mini explosion, but it would also justify like the water needing for steam. But again, do whatever with that. But
And it could always be something other than water that's just kind of like
Yeah.
a weird thing.
no, I like the sort of like generic like human seeming thing or like generic like non-robot
Yeah, like
idea.
Spec, really.
Yeah. But one thing I was think might be kind of funny and add for some like interesting ideas is like, as he's trying these weird new things, like what happens if it's not physically making him ill, it's kind of like drugging him up basically and like getting him high or something weird, like that could potentially open up some really interesting stuff for like shaders and whatever. What if the robot equivalent of acid was battery acid? But yeah, cool. So I guess looking at the sketches, oh my god.
That's
That's
like a steampunk kind of thing. Like
this guy?
yes.
Are these arms on the side?
No, I was thinking like if I would have put like a fancy like cloak thing on him.
Little top hat.
So I had one without it, and then the side would be like him with it like over on one shoulder.
Ah, I see. I feel like the cloak maybe kind of makes him read as like it almost makes him look like a vampire. But I think it would work either way. I would say like end cloth capes are probably something that you like don't want to deal with unless you
I
just
did
like
that last term. Yeah, I
have-
don't wanna do that again.
yeah. It can be, because I will say, like, animating end cloth, just like as a weird rule of thumb, is like, it's not always, you have to like sometimes change the parameters to get the look you want, like, as it's going, which can be annoying and time consuming to let it sim. That being, yeah.
No capes.
No capes. That being said, is this a monocle?
Yes.
Amazing. That's delightful. Yeah, so I mean, I think,
It's a bow tie.
beautiful. I like it.
And cloth bow tie.
Like his whole design was gonna be like he's wearing like a tux or something.
Yeah. No, I'd buy that. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, I think the robot designs work. Does anyone have any thoughts and comments on the either robots or story ideas? Cool. I do feel like this one, I like it as a story, and I think it would definitely work. It seems like it would be like pretty reasonable to like translate. Like there's not a whole lot of like ambiguity as to what's happening, if that makes sense. So it seems like a sort of nice safe option where you could like really push some of the ideas to make it really like weird and comical. Again, I'm kind of thinking of like basically torture the other robot a little bit, and just like really make weird stuff happen to him. But yeah. And what laying desert? Are we thinking like Old West kind of desert thing, or like just sort of like generic stretch of highway in middle of nowhere?
Just like add some cacti in
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna have robot cactus.
I love it. I have several hundred succulents at my house. So if you need reference of cactuses, let me know. But yeah, no, I mean that seems reasonable. Have we? Not that it's really relevant to your story, but do you guys know why Tuxbot is like out in the middle of nowhere?
Why what?
Why the like tuxedo robot is out in the middle of nowhere?
That is left for the viewer's decision, I guess.
Gotcha. It might be an interesting idea to like know why in your head and maybe leave like a small visual clue somewhere. Like for some reason my mind is like, he's a spy. In which case, like, how would you show that? Like maybe he has like a tiny little tag on him that's like 007 or something like really, really dumb. But I feel like people, it's a question people might ask if they like see him out there, or like maybe.
I'm thinking like his car broke down, but I don't really want to make a fancy car.
That's a fair point.
So yeah, for all the viewers, it's because his car broke down.
Gotcha. Or I was thinking like, what if he was on a date and then like his hot date dumped him in the middle of the desert, and maybe he had like some kind of thing where like it was like her number or like a picture of this other robot or like something else, to sort of show like the ending of some kind of weird robot relationship or something. But I think that could be, it's something that you guys should know, and it might also add for like an extra like interesting little element to the story as well. Cool. Any other thoughts, comments on this one? Yeah.
You could enter the store and like pull off an engagement ring and throw it on the floor.
That would work. That would totally work, yeah.
You could give it to the other robot as payment.
His bottle of
It's like,
water.
"Here's a ring."
Nice. No, I like that as well. Indeed. Modeling gemstones sucks. But no, I do like that as an idea. I think it's a clear visual indicator, and it would certainly serve to like kind of be funny at the end because it's like unnecessarily high payment for like a bottle of water.
In the desert, who knows?
Yeah.
Very valuable.
Cool. All right. Any pitch 2? Pitch 3? Cool. All right.
Alright, so in this pitch, it starts out with these like quick close-up shots of these two robot knights like gearing up to joust, and then they both get on their horses and they're about to go at it, and one guy like pulls out a quarter and he slips it in, and it zooms out, and they're just like outside of a grocery store on the like coin-operated horses, and they're expecting to like charge at each other, but they don't, so they're just awkwardly staring at each other for a few seconds, and then a shopping cart just kind of rolls by and they notice it. So then they get out and then they both get in shopping carts, expecting that those would work, and then they just kind of slowly inch towards each other on shopping carts.
Gotcha. Cool. And I guess these are. I dig the robot knight designs. Like honestly, these are pretty cool looking. All right. Cool. So anyone have any thoughts, comments on this one? All right. My first question, is there, so these, wait, these are robots putting on armor? Or are they like straight up just medieval robot designs?
I was thinking maybe like they just kind of have like a robot skeleton on the inside. Maybe they're just like putting on like the armor like on like their shoulders or on their
Okay.
arms or something.
Or, I mean, you could just do like a Mr. Potato Head kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where they're literally just like sticks with like clip-on armor clothing pieces. Cool. I think that could actually be really funny. I do kind of like the idea of them like putting on armor. If you want to make it really dark, they put on like flesh armor. But anywho, so I think, I mean, this one, it seems like if you're not super in love with like organic modeling those horses so that they look nice would potentially be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Those are like the things where it's like those like robot ones that just rock back and forth.
Wait, you're talking about like the like spring ones that you find on like playgrounds, kind of thing.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Like you ever seen the ones that like outside of grocery stores? You put a
Kind of like
coin
on
in?
like a carousel, like those kind
Oh,
of
gotcha.
So
Yeah.
we could, if it's a hard like thing, if we find out it's like hard to model horse, we could just make like a really simple one, I guess, too.
Yeah. I was also gonna say you can potentially just like make the silhouette, and then chuck it into ZBrush and just like add some carved designs on the side and just like export. I can show you how to export like low poly sculpts from ZBrush and just use that directly. But yeah, no, I mean I like the idea. I think my main concern with this one would be for this to read as a 45-second clip, it would need to be like really pushing the sort of funny aspect, if that makes sense. Like there would need to be, because there's not a whole lot happening. There's like a clear conflict, but there's like, the satisfying part of this is that they're incompetent and it's like not resolved well. But you need to somehow make that satisfying, the fact that there is no resolution. So I don't know if like just having them like inch towards each other on shopping carts is like the best way to do that, or if there's like something else that maybe would work better. You said like shopping cart rolls by, and I thought it was kind of funny if that was just like a tumbleweed. But yeah, does anybody else have any ideas about how that could be potentially resolved? Or like, if there's something that could potentially make this like more interesting or like funnier or something.
Well, for a third mode of transportation, they could use the handicap system.
That I like. That's also quite funny. It would require you making one of those little carts, but I like that. Where they have this power and there's like, nah. And then they just like, at the end is just them going like, boop. And like, that's kind of funny. I do like that. Anybody else have any ideas? All right. But yeah. Shush. So again, I think this one could work. I think your other idea is like a little bit stronger. But this is definitely like workable and could certainly be turned into like something kind of funny and cute. All right, so pitch 3 really quick. Do you want to just like go through really fast?
You sure you want to go with this one?
Yeah, so this one's sort of like kung fu robots, like in a dojo.
Nice.
And it's going to be a younger, not fancy, like just a plain robot, and then there's like old master.
Yeah.
And he's going for his belt test. He'll be a black belt. He's going to have the red clip pulling thingy.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna like be fighting back and forth, and he gets knocked down, and then he's like, I have to beat my master up now. So then he goes up and he like wins and does this cool triple kick in his face, and then the master like they battle each other, and then he gets black belt and clips it on.
Nice. Cool. So first question, do either of you have any experience with like martial arts stuff? Either
What, like real life?
either real life or just like for some reason like extensive knowledge of like kung fu movies.
I not kung fu.
Well, okay. Yeah, because that's usually like, I mean, that would definitely like help inform what you're doing in this, because it's always really hard to do like sword fighting, to choreograph a sword fighting scene if you know nothing about sword fighting, and like same thing here. But yeah, I mean, since you have that, I think that would be like really cool to be able to actually like throw real elements of martial arts like into whatever they're doing.
See, I was thinking like since the robot's like, and he has like a ball joint for his knee.
Yeah.
He jumps up and then like his leg like spins around a bunch of times, like to kick him.
That's great. I think that's a delightful example of using robot design and the fact that it's not an actual human to make things hilarious. But yeah, no, I mean, I think like, overall I like this idea. I think it would definitely read. I think this has a really nice, like obvious motivation as to like what's happening. Kind of satisfying end. I would say maybe if you wanted to do this, think of ways to break up the fight, so that maybe there's like some areas of rest or something like that within the fight, like I was saying earlier. But I think this would definitely work. And I do like the sort of robot. I love how this dude is just like, look at me, I have flails for hands. Like that's so insanely aggressive.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. That would be really cool for like punch the dude with his.
He means
like,
business.
No, it's-
also, I was kind of worried though because I kind of wanted him to have like bendy arms.
Yeah.
You were saying in the beginning that might be like weird, so I don't know how that's gonna
So
play out.
it's definitely doable. It might just be a little bit more annoying than to do real arms. One thing you could do, and this I probably will read very strangely, but you could make his arms entirely procedural for parts of this, and just attach a dynamic curve to them. So he would literally just be like flopping around, only attached here, and the computer would just figure out how to flail the arms. But I feel like that would really throw off the center of balance and probably end up like whacking him in his face and be like really hard to control. But you could totally do it. But yeah, I'll look into that more over like the next few days and see what I can come up with. I might make a little video of like, here's a simple way to do this that's like not totally insane kind of thing if I find anything useful. But yeah, any other thoughts, comments on this one? All right. Cool, and I think you guys were Lumpy Lemons?
Yes.
Okay. So we have Lumbering Lumberjacks. All right, preference on which one to start with?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blackboard Learn.
Pretty submitted.
It's great.
This first idea is named Sparky and Crutch. Based off of the movie Starsky and Hutch.
Yep.
It's two robots driving down a road. The robot in the passenger seat is messing with the controls, irritating the first robot. Eventually the car goes dead while the first robot's freaking out. First robot tells the second robot to stay in the car. He goes around and checks under the hood. He's over there for a while, so the second robot comes over, notices that the battery's dead. So, not thinking, he takes the battery out of the first robot and puts it into the car, and then starts walking back into the car, seeing that the first robot is still there. So then it cuts to black, and the second robot is driving the car with no one in the passenger seat. And then it zooms down to the hood, and the first robot's head is like the hood emblem.
Oh no. That got weird. I like that. I like that as an idea. It's pretty funny. Cool. And then I guess let's see, robot designs. All right. So does it matter like which robot is which robot?
There's actually a different set of designs for it.
Yeah.
That one's mine, the other two are his.
Okay. I was mostly asking like this is the battery that would be shoved in the car.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
And then there's another robot design.
Yeah.
I
Oh.
think the one option, or the second robot that the
Uh-huh.
first robot.
Gotcha. I feel like either of these would work. It would just be a preference on like what you aesthetically like better. There is something I think is satisfying. Like, I thought you were gonna go with at the end, instead of having like a hood emblem on the car, do like guy closes hood on friend and is just kind of driving down the road. And I was like, oh, these thin spindly limbs would break off very easily, and then you could just have like a severed robot body like plastered to the front of the car. But yeah, no, I mean, I do like the overall premise of that. I think it's, so I'm what is the, not motivation, is the second robot that like uses the first one for his battery,
He's
like,
kinda like the slower of the robots.
okay, so he's not like evil per se, he's just kind of clueless.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's, like, the first robot's listening to the radio, the second robot changes it, and then he starts like listening to it, and then the first robot's like, dude, what now? He clicks it. Then first robot or the second robot like turns on the air.
Right.
First robot's like, dude, no. And, like stops it, and then like the car breaks down, and he's like, stop, don't touch anything.
Okay.
And he goes around, kind of like he's babysitting him.
Yeah, gotcha. No, I think that makes sense. I think the only thing that doesn't, and the reason I ask, is because it seems like if you're gonna use your friend's head as a car ornament,
But he's gonna be like powered on, like, but he's only gonna be the head on the front of the car. Like,
Yeah.
he'll be like, what are you doing? Like, stop this. And
Okay.
And the second robot's gonna be sitting in the car listening to the radio, like not really.
okay. So I think that could have just been me like misunderstanding. I think I thought you were gonna like he just like ripped his head off casually and like stuck it on the hood of the car. I think if you like
show like the headless guy sitting in the passenger seat, and
Right.
It shows the head like still working like on the
Oh, okay. So if that's the case, if the idea is like the battery is connected to the head and that's why the head is in the hood of the car, it might make sense to shift the battery pack. I think they were like on the back here. Maybe like put it on the robot's head, because that would just like make that design-wise I think make more sense. But that totally reads as like clueless robot, and the fact that he like takes his friend's body and just like pulls his head off is also kind of funny.
Like, this isn't working. I have an idea. You're on now.
Yeah. And then what if he gets back in the car and he like turns all the AC on and like terrible music and just like whatever, and the other robot's like, I hate my life. No, I do definitely like that as a premise. Does anybody else have any thoughts or comments? I'm going to call a random person if someone doesn't say anything. Sammy, did I call you before? Okay. Victoria, did I call you?
No.
Okay.
First of all, I can't do that based on Starsky much. It's really funny. I think overall it's actually pretty interesting because it's easy to understand, like still really funny to watch.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I find this just like a satisfying pitch. Like it's obvious what's going on, and you have like enough silly, like funny twists, and I think once I figured out like what you had in mind, like there's definitely enough build up to like support what you're doing. Cool. Anyone else? All right. Should we go pitch 2?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
It's called Magic Gas instead of like Magic Guy.
Okay.
Curtains open to magician robot standing there, calling over his assistant robot, who's late to it, and then he bumps into him, messing him up. Then they move on to the first trick, where the magician ties down the assistant to like one of the spinning like knife throwing wheels. He pulls the curtain in front, walks around back, but as he like finishes walking, the assistant robot is the one that gets switched out.
Okay.
The assistant robot's acting or doesn't know what's happening, but he goes along with it while the magician's like freaking out, like saying like, no, stop. And then he like throws the knives, reveals that he's fine, pulls back the curtain, moves on to the second trick. The magician shoves him into a box where he shoves like swords into it, like that kind of trick. The magic hum, because they're not going to be speaking, he's like, a puff of smoke comes up, and it's the assistant standing there, and then he opens up the box to see the magician like very scared, like standing there with the swords like all around him. Then he runs off stage, and the assistant doesn't really know what to He picks up the magician's hat that he drops on the ground, and then he pulls the magician out of the hat and back on stage.
Nice. That's kind of funny. I do kind of like the idea, like, quite apart from the assistant being the better magician, that, like,
He doesn't really know what's going on.
well, I'm like, I think it's kind of funny that he's, like, terrorizing his boss. He's like, I'm gonna throw knives at you, I'm gonna stab you with things, and I'm gonna, like, drag you back here when you clearly don't want to be here. Like, everyone applaud now. Like, something about that is really, really funny to me. But yeah, cool. Anybody have any thoughts and comments on this one? Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to see how you pull the robot out of the hat. Like, I don't know, like without flipping or like looking deformed on the way out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking maybe you could just sort of like fudge it with a little bit of like scaling or something weird, or like.
Maybe the body looks super small, and then as it's coming up, like, it's bigger again.
Yeah, but I do agree that like that definitely would be something that you want to do some experimenting with early.
Maybe give him a handful hat that just can get bigger and then he like lifts it up.
That also makes sense. Yeah, to do like an expanding hat thing. And then I think this one, so I looks like most of the robots I think from the first one are like kind of the same. I think this one would be good to maybe do some more like customized designs with it. Really push the idea of like one of them is a magician and the other one's an assistant. And then I was just like, what? This is like really dumb and stereotypical, but there's always that like super stereotypical like pretty lady assistant. And it would be it might be funny to like do some kind of weird riff on that for like the actual robot, but I don't know. But yeah, I think this one is also definitely workable. I think this one would actually involve, it's good in the sense like the set is relatively limited. You just have to play around a lot with like camera angles and stuff, because there's gonna be a lot of like, I think, did you say you were gonna like show the guy like in the box? Because like that would also be like a camera in a really small confined area. Might also be good to like kind of play with that stuff early, and then yeah. But I do. You could also like totally change the little dude's, take him from like a clueless assistant to like a malicious assistant, where maybe like the magician robot was like being a jerk to him at the beginning, and then he's like, and then like during the show he just kind of like takes over and starts terrorizing the crap out of him, and like put audience applause in the background, like they're loving it. It's like watching this guy suffer, but.
Yeah, I got this idea from the one Disney short with the magician and the rabbit.
Oh yes.
I feel like if I did that, it would be like a little too like rip off that.
Gotcha. I know which short you're talking about. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't speak to it being super rip-offy, but.
The magician is supposed to feed the rabbit, but the act is going on, so he ends up not doing that, and he like forces him to do the tricks, and then the rabbit's like, alright. And it like tortures the magician, yeah.
Gotcha. That might be a little similar. Yeah.
That's kind of why I wanted to go with like the more clueless assistant. He's like, alright, I don't know what's going on.
Gotcha. No, I think that could work. I think you would just really need to like play up the sort of like clueless aspect of it.
Yeah, make it, like the robot would be like a little more like dopey.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like kind of like waddling out. That's why he'd be like late to the like curtain call.
Right. I do like the idea. I was gonna suggest like a silly walk cycle, like a little waddle. I think that would make it like really, yeah, just like satisfyingly silly looking. Cool. Anyone else have any thoughts, comments on this one? All right. So let's see. Third one.
This is like the more kind of like simpler one.
Cool.
So it's called TV Time. So it's just I don't have any names for the robots. So I just call them Bill and Ted. And I guess kind of fits like the atmosphere of the whole story. So the two robots walk into the living room. They sit on the couch. Bill picks up the remote, turns it on, and since robots can't like they don't know what entertainment is, it's just like a black and white
Yeah.
screen, and he's like really enjoying it. And then Ted, he switches the channel because he doesn't like it, and then so Bill gets like he looks at him like what the hell, like why? And so then they like have a little back and forth, but like switch the channels back and forth, and then Ted challenges him to a rock paper scissors fight. And then there's like two ideas.
Yeah.
It's like they just keep playing infinitely because they know like the prediction like algorithm because the
Yeah.
And then, or if either one of them wins and the other one's upset.
Gotcha. And I see you've drawn out the like rock, paper, scissors hand movements for at least the first one. But yeah, so what do you guys think of this one? Anybody? Alright, I'm gonna call on a random person. That's a yep, sorry. Shush. Well, I can't call on Diego because you're in that group. Matt? Oh wait, Matt left. You're in that group as well. Sarah, have I called on you? Cool. Alright. Ravi? Ravi?
Yeah.
Cool. Went through like 7 people. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Not really. I thought it was like really well thought out. It's like I was able to follow it previously.
Gotcha. So I think personally, I think the other ideas maybe are a little bit like stronger and like more dynamic.
Yeah, this one is just like a simpler one.
Yeah.
Just have, I guess.
Yeah. I like the idea of like the robots have no concept of art. I'm not sure how well that would read, like even if they are just sort of like watching static TVs. Like I feel like it would be sort of funny and like obvious what they're doing, but it might not come across with like the understanding of art concept. But I also don't know if that would matter.
We can put up a painting of the crying clown in the background.
Well, see, that's something that like I would totally have somewhere. I don't know. Part of me likes the static image. You could also use the static image, like, sometimes that's used like when people are watching TV and they're like, oh, like, what are you watching, honey? And then it's just like they're just sitting there staring at the TV and it's static and they're just like mumbling to themselves and it's like kind of a creepy context, which is obviously not what you're going for, but I feel like the Bill and Ted Wins would need to be spiced up somehow if you guys wanted to do that. And I kind of like the idea of like, I don't know why they would know exactly what the other one would do, but I kind of like the idea that they get stuck in this endless loop and then you could maybe do like a quick cutscene to like them just standing on like the broken down house and they're all old and rusted and they're like still playing rock, paper, scissors.
And then one of their hands falls off and the other one's like, I believe.
Yes. So you then have both of your endings. But no, I do think that would be like kind of funny, that where they just sort of decay. But yeah, I think your other ideas are stronger, but I think this would be workable if you like sort of played with a little bit more and maybe find some ways to like add a little bit more pizzazz. Cool. Any other thoughts, comments on this one or any of the other ones? All right. So I think that was the last group. Yes. All right. So really quick, I just want to run through the assignments that are due next week. And there's like one of those like weird little half assignments as well. It should go, I think, fairly quickly. And then I'll give you guys a break because I know it's been like a long crit this week. I think in future they'll be shorter because we're not reviewing like multiple ideas for each group. Anywho. So the first thing that is going to be due, and that's actually on Friday, like this Friday coming up in like 4 days or something, is the robot orthographics. So I did actually go over like pretty much all of the like requirements for the robot and all that nonsense last week, so that you guys could think about it. This is pretty much like a straightforward, just like do some orthographics. So it should have like the front, at least the front and side of your robot. The back of your robot can be really simple. It's just like if you have any ideas of like specific things that should be on the back, like you guys had a battery pack, that kind of thing. Ability to like draw that out and give it a little bit more detail, but again, doesn't need to be crazy fancy. And then if you just combine all of your orthographics into a single image and lay all of the pieces, or like lay all the images and robots out, so like the feet are on the same ground plane, the heads are all the same height, hips at the same height, that kind of thing. There's examples, again, in the previous example folder on the Google Drive, if you guys want to take a look at like how previous users did that. Again, hand-drawn or digital is totally fine. Just make sure, like, if you're doing hand-drawn, don't do it on lined paper. Like, make sure that the image is, like, straight on, not distorted, not covered in shadow, that kind of thing. And then if you could, again, there's some like character Bible questions. Just put some like really brief answers for that. Doesn't need to be crazy fancy. And just re-include that list of range of motions that your robots need to do so that I can look at that when I'm looking at your orthographics. Let's see here. But yeah, so character Bible is like literally just like these questions. So you can just like paste these into a little PDF or whatever and then just like answer them. It's basically designed to get you thinking about, you know, like what's the robot's purpose, like who made it, how old is it, why is it where it is, things that might help sort of inform your design or like give you potentially even interesting ideas for like the story or like additional environment stuff to like sort of clarify like where this robot came from if you wanted to. And also just sort of paying attention to the more practical questions like what are its physical capabilities, like how big is this thing, and is there anything, you know, like special about the robot itself, mostly in terms of like how it's constructed. Like I was thinking more like weird floppy bits of like end cloth or I don't know, parts made with human body parts or something weird. And then this is basically just like the point breakdown. You get a point for the questions, a point for the range of motion, again, because I think that's like really important. Don't hobble yourself early on. And 2 points is for the originality of design of the robot, and that is pretty much the assignment. If you could, just submit a JPEG, PNG, or TIFF of all of your orthographics. So again, they should be combined into a single image. And then just one little PDF with all of the answers to the character Bible questions and range of motion list. Yes?
So, like, this doesn't be in, like, Maya or anything, right? You just, like, do, like, Illustrator or, like...
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to do any 3D modeling yet. Any other questions? Yes?
Is this for all the pitches or the one that we choose?
Oh, so this is, okay, yeah, sorry. So this is for the one robot that you choose for your final. So before you start this, you should like decide on the story that you're gonna go with, and then you can draw these and all that good stuff. Any other questions? What? You have to do 10 orthographics by Friday. It's gonna be great, guys. No, I don't want to grade that, and y'all don't want to do it. What? No. But yeah, so this is pretty much the orthographics. Again, this is due on Friday, so Friday before next class. And the reason I'm having you guys do that is so hopefully you guys have a little bit of time to actually start working on the robots. So I'll sort of like check, learn, and grade these as they come in and let you know if there's anything like major you'd want to change before you start modeling. But just to get a jump on that. Where am I going? All right. So again, that is the orthographics, and the other thing that's going to be due is the storyboard, and that's due like class time next week, so like next Monday. And this is again like I feel like a fairly standard. I'm sure you guys have pretty much all done storyboards before, or like little thumbnail drawings. But basically, just take whatever pitch you choose and translate it into little drawn images, looking at sort of framing of your characters, the different camera angles you might use, and just sort of like plot out the whole thing visually. I'm usually a little, just sort of like do whatever you need to do to get your story across. The one thing I will be enforcing more heavily this time is please draw your frames at some kind of like 16:9 aspect ratio or something close to it. Like don't give me a square or like a 4:3, because I actually get that a lot for orthographics, and it's hard if you're rendering in full HD to like test out camera angles at a completely different aspect ratio. Is that a hand? Or is that, okay. Sorry. But yeah, so that's like pretty much my only requirement. Again, hand drawing is totally fine. Doing it digitally is totally fine. If you hand drawn stuff, I'm not gonna force you to like measure out perfect 16:9 squares or like use a ruler, but do try to make things like neat and organized and like at least relatively rectangular. But yeah, so this is worth 5 points. 4 points of that is just clarity. Like, is it obvious? If we had never heard your pitch before, could we figure out what's going on in reasonable detail based on your drawings and whatever notes are there? And I say drawings and notes, it should be primarily obvious through your drawings, and then the note should be like supplemental. So if you ever sword fight or something crazy like that, Don't do like one thing of like, there is a sword fight, and then like 5 paragraphs of text under it. Actually draw things out. Is that, yes?
So is the Friday one like an individual submission and the Monday one a group submission?
That is correct, yeah. Yes, fair point. Orthographics are individual, this is group assignment. Yes?
So, are we doing 2 different storyboards you submit as a group, or how do we do it as a group?
So honestly, if you wanted to sort of designate one person to do the storyboards, like that's totally fine. But it is going to be graded as a group assignment. So if you guys, you could like sit down and do it together. One person could do half and the other person could do half. Like, I'm kind of just leaving that up to like however you guys want to divide that up is totally fine. Any other questions? All right. Other thing I'm looking at is, again, sort of quality, where like if this is a hand-drawn image, is it super sloppy? That kind of thing. And if you could just do, combine all of these into like 1 or 2, 3 at the max. Combine like PDFs or images of all of your stuff like laid out in order with whatever notes you have and just submit that. Please don't give me like 800 files and don't zip anything. I don't like downloading zip files when I don't have to. That's pretty much that. Any questions on the storyboard? All right. So again, this is due next class for whatever story that you decide to work on. And there is one final assignment, which is going to be like a fairly low-key assignment, and that's your first work in progress. So if you guys look at the calendar, you'll notice that this is all the stuff due next week. Robot models are due the week after, like week 4. So the reason that I had you guys do your orthographics sort of halfway through the week is so that, again, you have a little bit of extra time to like have that design officially approved before you start actually modeling it. Because if you start next week, you will only have 1 week before that is due. And then the week after the robot model is due, you have the rig that's due. So you pretty much have like more or less just over a week to like model the thing, and then 1 week to rig it before you start getting more heavily into animation. So do keep that in mind when you guys are sort of going about your assignments and when you're doing this first of the work in progress assignment. So again, these are the like sort of freeform ones. Presumably, most of your work at this point is probably going to be on your robots and getting those up to snuff. I can never figure out how to spell Lou. What? Yeah. L-I-E-U? I don't know. So this one, again, is pretty much just like, make me a list of whatever I should be looking for in your assignment. Presumably, this one is mostly going to be focusing on modeling, where you'd want to just do like an OBJ or Maya file or whatever with like whatever models you have in them. If you're working on your robots, if you could also just like throw in the orthographics with that, so I have something like easily accessible to compare what you have to your reference, that would be lovely. And these are submitted as sort of journals on Learn. I'll show you the format for that. It's more or less on your end a similar way to submit it as like assignments. And this is kind of how I'll be grading it. So, you know, have you done a lot of really good quality work versus like 10 minutes of sketchy animation, or like putting 5 spheres in a Maya scene and being like, look, robot, question mark? And this week, I'm not expecting a lot because I know you do have other classes and also like 2 assignments for this class. But it'd be nice maybe to like block in like the torso and head or like some limbs of your robot, like just start getting the whole thing kind of fleshed out in some kind of way, but I'm certainly not expecting the whole robot to be totally finished. Any questions on the work in progress that's due? Okay. So really, really fast, and I say that like actually really fast. Let me just show you from like a student end if you haven't looked at submitting journals at this point. So if I go, where am I going? So if I just like go to submit this, this is like the journal thing. Just click on create journal entry, type in like whatever you need to. You can attach files like you would any other assignment, and then just post the entry. It'll show up pretty much like this. If you attached a file, they'll show up here for me to download. And if you can comment on your own post if you need to. If you realized you forgot files, you'll just have to make another journal entry, type whatever, and then attach your files there. And you'll notice that like they all just sort of show up here. So it's just kind of like, I'll just see whatever you submitted as like one giant thing. But functionally on your end, it is kind of pretty much the same thing as submitting an assignment. So, any questions on that? All right, in that case, go run away, take like a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do a little bit of basic stuff on rigging. And if you guys care, and you want to follow along, I do have this model in the Maya file folder in the student drive under like sample work. It's like robot caricature. But anywho, 5-minute break, go.